G'day everyone, it's Graham from Great Off-Road Adventures and welcome back to another video. We're seated and camped here on the banks of the gorgeous Catarapco Creek in the Murray River National Park. Now, those that have watched the channel for a while will know that we've shown you and explored WA, being WA based. We are not anywhere near WA. We're up in the Riverlands region of South Australia, and we are working our way over to Victoria and into the Vic High Country. So this adventure started 6 days ago, and over the last 6 days we have crossed Nullarbor. So let's go back and review that, and I'll share with you some tips and tricks as to long distance driving with two little ones and some specifics in regards to crossing the Nullarbor. Welcome to Great Off-Road Adventures and the Great Eas-Cape. We've shown you 3 seasons of rocks to reefs as we've explored our own backyard and the beautiful areas of Western Australia. Now it's time for us to take you to the East Coast. We're going to start in the Vic High Country, we're going to finish in Cape York. Come along for a hell of an adventure. So our journey over to where we are now at Catarapco Creek started in Perth, which is home for us, and basically started a few days before we left with packing the van, prepping the van, and all of that. We have a house sitter looking after our house, so we actually moved out into the van a couple of days before we left, which was great for the girls, for the kids, because we had a couple nights already sleeping in the van before, which for them is an unfamiliar environment, before hitting the road. Sorry, I apologise for the flies and me flapping. Before actually hitting the road and, then it being an unfamiliar environment for them, and also us trying to get rest before driving the next day and that sort of thing. So that was a particularly sort of helpful hint and tip, is if you know you're going to be on the road for a while, if you're prepping for either a lap or a half lap or a month or 2 month trip, and you don't use your camper or your caravan that often, if you can, try and use it that night or 2 nights before you go to familiarise your little ones, especially your little ones, with that new environment. I have an admission to make in that I completely stuffed up. I offloaded some memory cards at Fowler's Bay, and I did some photo and video editing, and at the end of that then I formatted the memory cards, and one of my cameras, my GoPro, which I was vlogging to and filming quite a bit those first few days, it had files on there for a different video, which is what I edited, and I either didn't offload the files or I duplicated the other files and then I formatted the card. So I've lost from Perth to Fowler's Bay off of my GoPro, so I don't have any vlog style footage from that camera. I do still have shots from my big video camera and also from my drone, but yeah, don't have anything vlog style, so shots from in the car and all of that. So yeah, I feel like a bit of an idiot. Been doing YouTube for a while and not done that. So yeah. So day one, we left Perth at 7:30 in the morning, said goodbye to the family, and basically Jess and I had a bit of a rule of not doing more than 500 kilometers a day, or let's say aiming for 500 kilometers a day with the girls. And that's been a good structure that we've been able to basically do a couple days back to back driving before needing a rest day. Whereas if we had done, like a 700 or 800k day and absolutely just killed the girls in the car, we wouldn't be able to go and do another 500 the next day. It wouldn't work. So yeah, we left Perth, we drove, it was 533 kilometres out via the town of Hyden, and then from Hyden onto the Hyden-Norseman Road, which that section there is predominantly gravel. There's a couple campsites, really nice campsites along there, the breakaways, Lake Johnson or Disappointment Rock. We elected to stay at Lake Johnson. It was 530 k's from home. We left at 7:30 in the morning, and I think we were pulling up to our camp at 3:45 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it worked really well. Lake Johnson itself is a lovely camping area. It's right on the edge of the Salt Lake. It's a couple hundred metres away from the main road, which that Hyden-Norseman Road, it is not a main thoroughfare road. Whilst we were there were maybe, I reckon, less than a dozen vehicles that went past that afternoon, that evening. So yeah, pretty quiet road, and you're far enough away from it that you don't get dust and you don't really get any road noise when those cars do pass by. So yeah, we had a lovely night there, super peaceful, level ground, so we were able to basically just stay hitched up. And then the day 2, we went from Lake Johnson across to Norseman, which was another 200 k's of gravel. So in total, that section there is about 260 k's of gravel. It's the shortest route from Perth to Norseman, which is where the air highway, or the actual, the highway across the Nullarbor starts at Norseman. So if you're trying to do the shortest possible distance, there's gravel on it, but the quality of that gravel road is very high, where we were able to sit on 100 kilometres an hour towing the van, no issues. We did let the tyres down to sort of like 30 psi, which is my traditional gravel tyre pressure, and off we went. So that worked really well. We are prepared for and built for gravel road, off-grid, so it was a no-brainer to go that direction for us. So refueled in Norseman, and from Norseman we left there roughly 10 o'clock in the morning, and we continued obviously heading east now along the air highway. We stopped in for lunch at Balladonia, and kept on driving across the Nullarbor, basically from Norseman essentially until you get to Ceduna. There's very little in the way of activities for the little ones to do. You have roadhouses every, on average, let's say 100 to 150 kilometres. Some are a bit further apart than that, some are a bit closer. But those roadhouses really only providing you fuel, toilets, some food, and sometimes there's a motel attached to them. The odd one, and I say odd because it's the exception, has a playground, but the playgrounds were pretty aged, in a bit of a rundown condition, and often were just in the full sun, which for a early March sort of, peak of end of summer, start of autumn, it was pretty inhospitable to be trying to play on a playground in 33 degrees bacon sun in the middle of a truck stop and roadhouse. So we didn't use any of the playgrounds for the girls. We just entertained them as best as we could around the car, the caravan, or in the van, and just banked the kilometres. So that day from Lake Johnson, we ended up basically driving to just a little wiki camps camping spot just near Cocklebiddy, where we got to there at 4 o'clock, and we stopped. We let the girls burn off energy. Sophie rode her little balance bike around, and from there we spent basically 3.5 hours. So from 4 until about 7:30, we did dinner, we washed up, and we let the girls burn off steam. We got them dressed in their pajamas, and we actually then chucked them back in the car and drove for another 2.5 hours, which allowed us that second day to get just short of Eucla. So we pulled into a rest area there. It's called Herders Hill Rest Area. If you navigate the little maze of tracks, you can get far enough off of the air highway that you don't hear any vehicles. And we found a nice little bay in amongst sort of like all the tea trees, where we popped the van up, and it was super peaceful, and stayed the night there. Doing those extra few Ks that night, so we did about 250 Ks, 2.5 hours, basically meant that we did nearly 800 Ks that day, which is a pretty good hit out with the kids, but our saving grace was doing them whilst the girls slept that night. Fortunately, the next day, basically from Eucla, we only had like 450 kilometres to do across the actual Nullarbor itself. One thing that you do need to note when you prepare for your Nullarbor crossing is that there are time zone changes. So as you travel east, in total we lost 2.5 hours, also due to daylight savings, but you also have shorter days travelling east. When you travel west, you get longer days, and you obviously gain time due to following the sun. And we elected to go in and stay at, it was, the initial point we chose was Scott's Bay camping area. It's down near Fowler's Bay along the coast there in South Australia. Upon arriving in there, we found Scott's Bay was full. There was one sort of possible camping area remaining, but the ground was covered in what looked like pretty big, large meat ant. What we have is, we call them meat ants in WA, and they bite, and it's not great for the girls if they want to play on the floor and that sort of thing. So we had a look on Wiki Camps, and I'd seen there was another camping area just around the coast called Mexican Hat. Read some reviews on Wiki Camps, and one of the reviews said they'd taken a 22-foot caravan into Mexican Hat. So we felt pretty confident taking the little 17-foot hybrid, the Yowie in behind the car. Never been there before, no idea what it was like. We just cautiously sort of made our way in. Track in was fine, just very dusty. And yeah, we set ourselves up at Mexican Hat for 2 nights. So 3 days, we had done a better part of like 1,700 kilometres. And so we basically said, okay, let's have a rest day. By doing those extra few Ks into the night, we'd basically made up a little bit of time that we could do a rest day. So we looked at the weather, and the weather for that rest day was actually really good. The wind had swung to a northeasterly wind, so the coast was quite well protected. So yeah, we stayed 2 nights at Mexican Hat. The first night that we stayed at Mexican Hat Headland, we had friends of ours from Variety join us. They were doing their survey for the bash this year, and it crossed over perfectly, so they came and camped the night with us. The rest day that we had at Mexican Hat Headland, we chose not to go in the car at all. Purely stay out of the car and relax around camp, and just unwind and have a sanity break. Yeah, so that's where we tried to go and camp, but it was full, and also full of ants. Google sent us on this track around the back of the lake and into Mexican Hat Headland, and yeah, quite happy with our camp spot there. There's a map of it up here, and we camped to number 3, so protected away from the beach, looking down towards the Mexican Hat Flat area. There's looks like a couple vans in there as well, so if you've got hybrids, I reckon you've got no issues bringing them in here to Scott's Beach or to Mexican Hat Flat or Headland. So yeah, let's go have a gander at the view. Hey, can Daddy carry you down this bit? Yeah? Ready?
Go.
No, turn around, face Daddy.
Face Daddy and hold Daddy.
Hold Daddy.
Sophie, hold on to Daddy.
Yep, success. Just watch your feet on the way down. What can you see? No, don't go near the edge. We thoroughly enjoyed the 2 nights that we spent at Mexican Hat Headland. In hindsight, it was invaluable having the rest day, having a sanity break. We ended up packing up the evening of the second night so that we were ready to go first thing the following morning to make the drive across to Ceduna to the quarantine station. And then after that, onwards for the rest of our plan for that day. Notice those 2 big, I guess, like burrows or diggings on our way in, but it was way too dusty for me to be able to film them. So yeah, I've filmed them on my way out. I've got no idea what they are or what causes them, right? What animal would dig them? Us West Aussies don't get anything like that. So if anyone knows, in the comments below, let us know, because yeah, I'm intrigued. Chatting to my variety friends, they reckon wombats. I didn't know that you got wombats this far west in South Australia, but again, West Aussie, don't really know. So yeah, intrigued. If someone reckons they know what it is, please let us know. We drove from Mexican Hat to Ceduna. Now, one thing that's important to note here with a Nullarbor crossing, regardless of which direction you go, is when you go interstate, there are quarantine restrictions in regards to fruit and vegetables and other produce. One of the things we've run into is quarantine restrictions when you move across the state borders in Australia. So Jess and I both completely blanked that it would even be an issue. Just completely blanked until we got pretty much to Eucla, or maybe it was even the following day where we were like, oh crap, quarantine station. So yeah, we have been carrying a fair bit of fresh fruit and veg on board. Basically we can't take any of it with us into South Australia, or at least past Ceduna where the quarantine checkpoint is. So yeah, basically we've feasted the last couple of days, just gotten through and eaten as much fresh fruit and veg and produce as we can. Some stuff can be frozen, so stuff like potatoes we've cut into chips, which we would traditionally throw into you know, oil and cook them up as chips with some of our meals. So we've chopped them up, frozen them in snaplock bags. We had a heap of tomatoes. Tomatoes are Sophie's favourite, and so we've basically diced them up, again frozen them in snaplock bags, and we'll basically turn them into like a can of diced tomatoes, right? Tomato paste and that sort of thing. So rather than having them go to waste, we've done that. It does mean that at least for tomorrow and the following day, we don't have any fresh fruit and veg, so we're going to be going back to ham and cheese toasted sandwiches and, you know, curry and rice, or spaghetti bolognese, stuff like that for dinners, just to get us through, because South Australia has its own biosphere around the Riverlands region, where again you can't even bring fruit and veg from other parts of South Australia into that region. And we're traversing through that way to get across the Murray River and down towards Echuca and the high country. So yeah, we're just going to do a couple of days without any fresh stuff. So from Fowler's Bay, we travelled 500 kilometres and we overnighted at Lake Gillies, which is sort of just east of Kimber. And that was a nice day. We call that our big day because we saw the big parrot, we saw the big windmills at Penong, so they made good stops for the kids to get them out of the car and all of that. So yeah, it worked quite well. Well everyone, day 5 update for you from the afternoon. We've gone from Fowler's Bay or Mexican Hat campground through to Lake Gillies. I don't know how to pronounce it, it's G-I-L-L-E-S. I was sort of thinking Lake Giles, but the double L, maybe it's Lake Gillis, Lake Gillies. I don't know, you South Australians pronounce things differently to West Aussies. You sort of roll your words together, or your syllables together I should say. So yeah, I've been corrected a few times on my pronunciation, so if someone wants to let us know in the comments how you pronounce Lake Gillies, because sure I'm doing it wrong, please do. So anyway, the wind's up, there's a high in the bight, there's a like 30 to 35 kilometre an hour southerly wind. It's livable, it's not pleasant here, but looking at windy, it's basically like this all the way to the other side of Port Augusta. We're not going to get there tonight or this afternoon, it's like 4 o'clock, 4:30 already. So we've just done basic overnight setup because that's all we planned on staying here for. Just throwing some shade cloth out, try and keep a bit of sand and dust down if we are outside. But we're making full use of the fact that we now have the van instead of the camper, and we're inside living this afternoon. So yeah, anyway, laptop in hand, opportunity for me to do some work, so I will. And yeah, we just got quick dinner tonight, pre-cooked. We can run the induction cooker inside, preheat our food on that, reheat our food on that. So yeah, capable of doing everything inside out of the wind, which is a win. So yeah, that's day 5 update. Well, the wind's gotten the better of us all afternoon, as you can see. It's not exactly the most pleasant afternoon to be outside. I'm very glad that we have the extra space of a hybrid now. So yeah, cooking inside tonight. Didn't think that we'd be doing this, but glad to have the option. Threw in a single, this is the chaos in the background, threw in a single induction cooktop from home, and we pre-made 4 pre-cooked meals. So this one's a butter chicken curry, and yeah, just gently have to reheat it, chuck some rice in, and dinner's done. So yeah, there's enough space here to do this in an emergency. Certainly not a full caravan inside kitchen, but it's a very valuable option that, you know, like you don't get in a camper trailer. For any camper, we would be outside, dirt in our eyes, having to do this. Whereas now we have the option. It's, yeah, awesome. So a hell of an upgrade from the camper, and wind power's really not an issue. We were at 99% on the Red Arc before. I'll show you what it is at the end of this. And the induction's going to run for 10 minutes at 800 watts. We're going to draw next to nothing from our battery. So yeah, awesome. Alright, dinner's ready. As you can see, throwing the rice in, Checking the red vision. Yeah, we're down to 97%. I don't know how it's going to survive. There you go, when the induction cooktop cycles, it draws 90 amps. But it's basically only cycling like 50-50. So 50% of the time. So yeah. 3%, and that's been me working on the laptop for an hour and a half this afternoon. We're still getting the minutest amount of solar charge. Like, looking at it, we're getting 14 amps of input charge. So yeah, you know, when it cycles, it's taking 75 amps out of the battery. So yeah, the solar, the battery, the inverter, the setup in the Yowie, it's taken a bit to wrap my head around it, how to best utilise it, but to be able to do things like this, it's proving itself to be a pretty kick-ass system, that's for sure. Anyway, dinner time. And then yesterday we drove from Lake Gillies round Port Augusta, through Port Augusta, then down across the Goyder Highway and up here into the Riverlands. We took the opportunity going through Barmera to empty the toilet, refill on water, and then make our way into where we are here at Catarapco Creek camping area. Camp spot should be ours. We're at 33. It was available for both nights, including a night of the long weekend, suitable for caravans, and had good water access apparently. So yeah, look forward to it. Now, we're not camped on the actual Murray River itself. We're on Tributary Creek, but same for us. Looks pretty good to me. What do you think?
Nice.
Yeah, look, first impressions, pretty impressed. Really good access to the water, nice campsite, pretty level, but we'll make it level with the van. And we've seen a group of kangaroos on the way in. There's another kangaroo over the back of camp there. Kids are gonna love it. Doesn't look like there's too many ants around. There's some bird life. Pretty good camp spot, I reckon. This is what we came to see, places like this.
Can't see your neighbours.
No neighbours.
Long weekend, not gonna see the neighbours.
Yep, lucked out, good choice. Basically the next few days, I should say, we're just continuing our way along the Murray River, heading east, and in about 4 or 5 days time, we'll be making our way up into the Vic High Country and starting our exploring the Vic High Country around that Mount Buller area. So yeah, really looking forward to it. That basically sums up, you know, our Nullarbor crossing. So yeah, so some background for you. If you are new to the channel, Jess, Sophie and Emma. So Jess is my wife, Sophie and Emma are our 2 daughters. We as in Jess and I have travelled extensively around WA, documented a lot of it on our YouTube channel. We've done, you know, we've travelled everywhere from Kununurra to Esperance, and pretty much everything in between except the Canning Stock route. So yeah, we took the opportunity to take some extended leave from our jobs and we have 6 months to travel wherever we like. We elected, because we're not going to get that amount of time off again for a while, to go as far from home as we could, travel the stuff that's furthest away. So that's why we have smashed it across the Nullarbor and pushed through South Australia, and we will basically start in the Vic High Country and work our way up through the Blue Mountains, northern New South Wales highlands and coastal areas, Fraser Island, up through Queensland all the way to Cape York, and then basically smash it back across the middle back to home. So that's our 6-month trip plan. And yeah, I look forward to showing it to you all. It's okay? Thank you, sweetie. The water police, making sure we stay hydrated. Pretty good habit to have, I must say. So yeah. Well, without any further ado, that is the end of episode 1 of the Great Escape. We've always tried to pick sort of fun names that relate to our trip. So we've had Rocks to Reef for a couple of series back in WA, where we've done, you know, some ranges and gorges and coastal stuff. But we sort of took a spin on the Great Escape name, as in Great Escape from our work, and turned it into the Great Eas-Cape, where we come and travel the East Coast. So yeah, anyway, I hope those that are new to the channel hang around and stick with us as we travel the East Coast and go and see what the East Coast is all about. And hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, you know the deal, like, subscribe, all of that. To all my regular viewers and my new viewers, happy safe adventuring, stay safe on tracks and trails. Hopefully one day we'll get to see you out here. If not, we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.